Everybody senses that there is going to be more terrorism, and that's what Bush wants. The internationalists got to have terrorism because it's the only way you get the American people to beg for martial law and to give up their rights. So we know more terrorism's coming. I'm a retired police officer, and we talk to police and soldiers all the time, and they all know this.
From the start of May 14 to May 24, 2022, the mass media began a massive campaign to exclusively report on the mass shooting that occurred in a supermarket called Buffalo in New York, and on the school shooting that occurred in Uvalde, Texas.
An 18-year-old gunman opening fire at this top supermarket around 2:30 in the afternoon Saturday, killing 10 people and injuring 3 others.
As you see those pictures right there, Lester, I mean, you kick into a certain methodology that you take at these incidents.
The gunman entering classroom 112 at 11:33 a.m. At 11:33 a.m. 11:33 a.m. 33.
So guys, speaking of the number 33, Jesus lived a perfect 33 years, and the number 33 is very important. Of course, in Freemasonry, you have your 33 degrees of Freemasonry.
But this happened in the small town of Uvalde, Texas. If you haven't heard that name before, it sadly will now be known, the city Sandy Hook.
I'm just confused and worried. I'm trying to find out where my baby's at,
They love to use the 33 in their rituals, and orange equals 33. So you see the clear mockery, all right?
To better understand who is behind these shootings, we must first take a closer look at some coincidences and shocking connections.
Gunman kills 10 at New York grocery store while live streaming on Twitch. They're saying he killed 10 people and he live streamed the whole thing on Twitch. And he did it because he's a white supremacist and anti-Semitic. Big surprise. And also another big surprise is that they're saying he put out a manifesto that he wrote, explaining exactly why he did this shooting and his life story. And I'll show you that and a whole lot more. Let's take a look first at this guy's manifesto. I want to note, first of all, this is 180 pages. 180 pages. Why would he go and do that? He talks about exactly what he's using, what he has on, why he's doing it, gives his life story. It's like, it's too suspicious. Way too suspicious. If this manifesto was like 5 pages long, it wouldn't look as weird. But 180 pages? With all this? Yeah, something's up there. I want to highlight some other weird things about this manifesto before we move on. This guy also claims to post pictures. My most recent self-pictures are below. Gives these 2 photographs. So, check this out. When I saw these photos, I'm like, hold up. This guy looks familiar. And come to realize, it's this guy. His name's Sam Hyde. Wow, check that out. That's our alleged mass shooter. Which it's not. This mass shooter was not Sam Hyde, because Sam Hyde is actually a comedian. And even on Wikipedia here, it admits that since 2015, Sam Hyde has been frequently misreported as the perpetrator of numerous mass shootings. One last thing that was a big problem with this manifesto is that big portions of it were literally copy and pasted. Copy and pasted from the Christchurch shooters manifesto. Remember that Christchurch shooting in New Zealand in 2019? Yeah, that shooter, they also said was a white supremacist, was the Christchurch shooter. This was an article back in 2019, okay? This is 3 years ago. Mainstream media themselves are questioning, was the Christchurch shooter part of a white supremacist network taking cues from Al-Qaeda and Islamic State? That white supremacist network, holy crap, Azov Battalion.
I'm going to start off with Matt Bracken's article in AmericanPartisan.org, and I just want to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Matt Bracken's assessment on the upcoming Richmond, Virginia rally on January 20th, 2020. Believes it's a trap? I believe it's a trap. I also believe that it will be used to demonize all quote-unquote white people, a term that was defined by the American Defamation League, which is a lobbying group that is a foreign lobbying group that lobbies and pays off people in our Congress and blackmails them. I believe that it's going to be used, like I said, to demonize white people in the United States. And why is this group allowed to label and demonize white people? Who are they to say that white people that love their country are white nationalists? Why do they get this say? I believe that this event's going to be infiltrated by paid actors and paid groups that have been created by our own government and armed by Israel. I believe our corrupt and blackmail government are going to use this event to pass their unconstitutional and outrageous bills like this one. And all they're going to need is one event to get this ridiculous bill passed in the Senate. Which brings us to our Hegelian dialect. Step 1. Create a problem by arming and funding extremists to take down opponents by proxy. The Azov Group. We already had a group of 40 human rights activists file a petition with the High Court of Justice demanding that Israel stop arming the exports to Ukraine. That's right. Israel is arming the Azov Group in Ukraine. So why did Congress okay funding for Ukraine? Well, they've been funding Ukraine, and it's been going to groups that are supported by George Soros. That's right.
To clarify some things, the Azov Battalion Group is not a real National Socialist organization. In fact, they do not inherit any real attributes of real National Socialism. National Socialism is about preserving your own group of people and to guard your borders from alien hostile groups. It's about love and family and about enduring the Christian faith. What we see in Ukraine, however, are a stylish and more modern version of ISIS. It's an organization made up of criminal thugs and Bolsheviks that are being funded by very powerful capitalists like George Soros and intelligence agencies like the CIA.
But wait, wasn't the mainstream media telling us that the Azov Battalion, they're small, they're nothing to worry about, that's not the reason Putin's in Ukraine, that's not who the Biden administration is funding in Ukraine? But wait, apparently the Azov Battalion is strong enough, is global enough to have connections to these mass shootings like in Christchurch, and maybe even this guy in Buffalo, New York. How about this on the guns, okay? Directly on the guns. We have the hash, the cross, crisscross, little symbol there. On the right, you'll see Christchurch shooter, had that hash symbol. Boom, on the left, Buffalo, New York shooter, same symbol. So we got the hash symbol, and that's not the only one. Check this one out here. We got the 14. 14 in the fish. That was on the Christchurch shooter's gun. 14 in the fish. We also have a 14 on the AR-style rifle that was used in Buffalo, New York last night. Where have you seen the 14 in the fish before? Well, that frickin' creeper right there. And remember, back during the Christchurch saga, back in 2019, John Podesta was in New Zealand 5 days. 4 or 5 days before the Christchurch mosque terror attacks.
This is your personal account that was hacked. I gotta think you're getting updates on the investigation that others would not. What can you share?
I will share this with you, Chuck. The first time I was contacted by the FBI was 2 days after WikiLeaks started dropping my emails.
Let me pause here.
The first
2 days after.
2 days after. So October 7th, October 7th.
This Christchurch shooting was not only used as the justification to ban guns, which, look, Buffalo, New York, when was this posted? Wow, 7 p.m. last night. The shooting wasn't even a few hours old, and yet mainstream media and corrupt politicians are already using that to call for gun control. Deep state creates the problem, in this case, mass shooting, to get the intended reaction from the public. In this case, oh my god, MAGA people, racist, white supremacists, shooters, white people, shooters, gotta ban guns. That's the reaction they want. And then C, solution. The solution is here, gun control. Not just gun control, but also big tech censorship. They're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Kill 2 birds with 1 false flag.
I personally believe that this shooting was a real event that occurred, that lives were lost. I say this because you can see by looking at several videos of the victims involved in the shooting that they are truly crying and have tears in their eyes. However, the only question I have is, where are the bodies of the alleged victims? It is evident to me that these so-called white hate shooters are being used through 𝗝𝘃𝗋𝘆 or some other diagnosis to perpetrate these massacres in order to strip away our right to bear arms.
This white supremacist gunman previously was hospitalized after he threatened to shoot up his school. Accused Buffalo shooter Peyton Gendron was hospitalized and underwent a mental health evaluation back in 2021 after he threatened to shoot his high school classmates.
While looking into the Buffalo shooting, I came across the original livestream footage from the shooter's perspective, and honestly, the way it looks reminds me of something straight out of Gmod or GTA. When the shooter hits his targets, there is no visible blood or any realistic signs of injury. Since the original video has been wiped from the internet, I just thought I'd bring this up and let you decide for yourself. Was this completely real, or is this all just a hoax?
And I have my husband, but to lose your mother and your grandmother, and for my younger kids to lose their mom and their oldest sister would be devastating.
What was the reunion like when you all finally were able to get back together?
I cried a lot.
You know, these two employees in the store, just look at the reaction. She cried while they're smiling. Look at these faces. Give me a break.
The second episode to this 3-part mini-series will cover the Uvalde, Texas shooting, and will show how real crisis actors were used to perpetrate the false flag.